The wrong solar decision will cost you thousands, not always up front either, often the years later. When the inverter fails and no one picks up the phone, when the panels underperform, when the bill barely moves, when you find out the company that sold you a 25-year warranty went bust after 18 months. I've been cleaning up these messes for 16 years. I'm Peter from OzEnergi. Today I'm breaking down the 5 solar mistakes that cost Australians the most money. So don't become the next horror story. Let's start with not installing enough solar for your actual needs. The most common mistake I see is one that costs people a lot of money over time. It's undersizing the system. People look at their current power bill, get a rough idea of what their daytime usage is, and buy a system that's just big enough to cover that. They think they're being sensible and not overspending. What they're actually doing is setting themselves up for ongoing disappointment. Here's why. Your power bill doesn't stay static. Once you've got solar, your habits change. You start running the dishwasher during the day instead of at night. You run the air conditioner more freely because you know the solar's covering it. You might add a pool or a spa or a second fridge. And increasingly, people are buying electric vehicles, which add a significant overnight charging load. On top of that, there are seasonal variations. In winter, the days are shorter and the sun's angle is lower, which means your panels generate less. If your system's sized to just barely cover your summer usage, it'll fall well short in winter and you'll be buying expensive grid power to make up the difference. And then there's the battery. If you're installing a solar system without a battery or with an undersized battery, you're feeding excess solar back to the grid at 5 cents a kilowatt hour during the day and then buying it back at 35 cents a kilowatt hour at night. That's a terrible trade. You need enough battery storage to capture your daytime generation and use it overnight. The fix is simple. Get a proper assessment from an installer who look at your actual usage data, not just give you a rough estimate. It's always cheaper to install a slightly larger system on day one than try to expand it 3 years later. This is a mistake that's particularly costly right now in Queensland, and it's one that I'm seeing more and more as people rush to get something on the roof without thinking it through properly. The federal government's home battery rebate is a fantastic program. It significantly reduces the cost of installing a battery system, but there's a critical catch that not enough people know about. You can only claim the rebate once. One property, one claim ever. What I'm seeing is people trying to save money up front by installing the smallest battery they can get away with. They claim the rebate on a 10 or 14 kilowatt hour battery, get it installed, and then realise 6 months later that it runs out by 9 p.m. and they're still buying grid power for the rest of the night. At that point, they want to add a second battery to fix the problem, but they can't claim the rebate again. They have to pay full price for the additional storage, and in many cases, the cost of that second battery at full price is more than what they would have saved by going small in the first place. You've got one shot at this rebate. You need to get the right advice up front, understand your overnight power usage, and install a battery that's actually sized to get you through the night. Subject to your budget, of course, but don't sacrifice the right outcome just to save a few $100s on the initial purchase. Before we get into the next mistake, I want to mention something. At OzEnergi, one of the things we're most focused on is making sure our customers get the right system the first time. We're accredited under the new Energy Tech Approved Solar Program, which means we're qualified to help you access the federal government battery rebate. And because we do our own installations with our own team, we can make sure the system's designed and installed correctly from day one. If you want to make sure you're not making the mistakes I'm talking about today, give us a call. We're on the Sunshine Coast, Gold Coast and Fraser Coast. The number's in the description. The next point's paying too little. The poor man pays twice. Everyone wants a deal. That's completely understandable, especially when you're making a significant investment. But in the solar industry, the absolute cheapest quote is almost always a trap. Here's how it works. A company offers you a system at a price that seems too good to be true, and it is. To hit that price, they've cut corners somewhere. Maybe it's cheap, no-name panels with no Australian support. Maybe it's a budget inverter from a brand that doesn't have a local service network. Maybe it's a rushed installation done by a subcontractor who's been paid a flat rate and needs to get in and out in 3 hours. The system goes on the roof, it works fine for a year or two, and then something fails. The inverter throws an error code, the panels start underperforming, the battery stops holding charge properly. You call the company, if they're still in business, they'll try to charge you for your service call. If they're gone under, which happens constantly in this industry, you're on your own. You have to find an independent electrician to come out and diagnose the problem. They'll tell you the inverter needs replacing, you'll have to buy a new one at the full retail price. And suddenly the money you saved on the cheap system has been more than wiped out by the repair bill. The poor man pays twice every time. Investing in a quality upfront from a company that'll still be around in 10 years is the only way to guarantee the long-term savings you're expecting. The next point is paying a premium price for a budget equipment. This is the opposite mistake, and in some ways it's even more frustrating because the customer thinks they're doing the right thing. There are solar companies out there that are very good at marketing. They've got a professional website, a polished sales pitch and a smooth talking salesperson who will sit in your living room and make you feel like you're buying the best system money can buy. The price they quote is premium. You think you're paying for quality, you're not. But when the installers arrive, they're putting cheap budget equipment on your roof. The panels are from a brand you've never heard of. The inverter is a low-tier model that's been discontinued in other markets. The battery is from a company with no Australian service centre. You paid a premium price for crap. This happens more than you'd think, and it's very hard to detect if you don't know what to look for. The fix is simple. Before you sign anything, ask the company to specify the exact make and model of every component they're installing. Then go and research those brands. How long have they been in Australia? Do they have a local office? What do their independent reviews say about their reliability and their warranty support? If the company won't give you specific brand names, or if they give you names you can't find any information about, that's a massive red flag. Walk away. And the next point, letting subcontractors do the installation. You can buy the best panels, the best inverter and the best battery on the market, but if the installation's done poorly, the system will fail. And in the solar industry, poor installations are far more common than they should be. The root cause is the subcontractor model. Many large solar companies don't employ a single electrician. They're marketing businesses. They run ads, they sign contracts, they outsource the installation to the cheapest subcontractor they can find. That subcontractor is paid a flat rate per job. The faster they finish, the more jobs they can do in a day. So they rush. Rushing a solar installation leads to problems. Roof penetrations that aren't properly sealed, leading to water damage, wiring that isn't done to the required standard, creating safety risks, mounting systems that aren't correctly secured, meaning panels can shift or come loose in a storm, monitoring systems that aren't configured properly, so the customer never knows if the system's underperforming. And when something goes wrong, the finger pointing starts. The sales company blames the subcontractor. The subcontractor blames the manufacturer. The manufacturer says the installation was done incorrectly and voids the warranty. You're stuck in the middle with a broken system, a stack of paperwork and no one willing to take accountability. The question you must ask every single solar company before you sign is, are the people getting on my roof your full-time employees, or are they subcontractors? If they're subcontractors, ask why. If the company can't give you a straight answer, or if they try to tell you it doesn't matter, it does matter. Walk away. At OzEnergi, every single installation was done by our own team, our own qualified electrician. People who've been with us for years, who take pride in their work and who know their name is put against every job they do. That's the standard you should be demanding from any solar company you consider. What good solar actually looks like. I've spent this whole video talking about what to avoid. Let me spend a moment on what good solar actually looks like so you know what you're aiming for. A good quality solar installation starts with a proper site assessment. An installer who knows what they're doing will look at your roof orientation, the pitch, any shading from trees or neighbouring buildings, the structural integrity of the roof itself. They'll look at your power bill and understand your usage patterns. They'll ask about plans for the future, whether you're having an EV, a pool, a home extension. From that assessment, they'll design a system that's sized correctly for your actual needs, not a standard package, a custom design. And then they'll be able to explain to you in plain language why they recommended what they've recommended. The installation itself should be clean, professional and done to the required standards. The roof penetration should be properly sealed. The wiring should be neat and correctly labelled. The system should be commissioned and tested before the installer leaves your property. And after the installation, you should be able to monitor your system's performance. You should be able to see how much power it's generating, how much you're using, how much you're saving. And if something goes wrong, you should be able to ring the company that installed it, talk to a real person and have someone come out to fix it. That's not a high bar. That's just what a quality installation looks like. But in the solar industry, it's rarer than it should be. When we install a system at OzEnergi, that's exactly what you get. A proper assessment, a custom design, a clean installation by our own qualified electricians, and ongoing support for the life of the system. That's the standard we hold ourselves to, and it's a standard you should be demanding from anyone you consider. Those are the 5 mistakes that will turn your great investment into a very expensive headache. Don't undersize your system. Don't waste your one shot at the battery rebate. Don't chase the cheapest quote. Don't pay for premium budget gear, and never let a rushed subcontractor on your roof. Get those 5 things right, and solar is one of the best financial decisions you can make for your home. Get them wrong and you'll be paying for it for years. If you want a system designed correctly, installed by our own full-time electricians, using quality gear that we stand behind, give us a call at OzEnergi. We've been doing it for 16 years.